You know that feeling when you're walking through a massive, busy airport or maybe the lobby of a giant office building and you step onto an escalator?
Oh, yeah. It's the best after a long day.
Right. There is this immediate, almost unconscious comfort. You just stand perfectly still, rest your hand on the rubber rail, and the machine just does all the work.
You can just totally zone out.
Exactly. It just carries you upward. But imagine stepping onto that exact same escalator, standing there patiently with your briefcase or your coffee, and then slowly realizing the machine has quietly broken down.
Oh, man, that's the worst.
There's no hum,
Aw.
no movement. You are just standing on a set of stationary, heavy metal stairs, waiting for a ride that is, well, it's simply never going to happen.
And everyone else is just standing there too, right?
Yes. You look around, and everyone is just awkwardly hoping somebody flips a switch and it magically starts moving again.
Mm.
Well, welcome to our deep dive for today.
It's a great analogy for what we're talking about.
Thanks. We are exploring a massive fundamental shift in how we work. And our mission today, based on the stack of sources we've gathered, is to explain how to finally step off that broken corporate escalator.
Which is so needed right now.
Right. We are going to look at how to build what's called a modern portfolio career and outline a real step-by-step roadmap for rapid promotion using micro-credentials.
It's such a critical transition, and honestly, the materials we are diving into today really illuminate why the ground is shifting beneath everyone's feet.
Yeah, the sources are pretty eye-opening.
They really are. We are looking at a highly detailed industry article alongside a related professional post, and they break down the rise of micro-credentials and examine the mechanics of a specific career platform called SkillDrift.
Right, SkillDrift.
Yeah. But if we pull back and, synthesize the overarching theme of these sources, what becomes undeniable is that we're witnessing a complete decoupling of time spent from value created.
Wow, decoupling time spent from value created. That's big.
It is. The legacy corporate logic that if you just sit in your chair long enough, your tenure automatically triggers advancement is entirely dead.
I think we really have to pause there, because before we can even begin to talk about building a new career path, we need to understand why the old one is collapsing.
Yeah, absolutely.
For decades, there was this unspoken, incredibly solid contract in the corporate world. You acquire your foundational 4-year degree, you get a decent entry-level job, and then you just patiently wait your turn on the ladder.
Just biding your time.
Right. Advancement was a function of your loyalty and, frankly, your stamina. But the article we are analyzing makes a pretty aggressive argument.
It really does.
It says that traditional model isn't just outdated, it is now an active liability to your career.
And the reason it has become a liability comes down to a core concept the text calls the velocity gap.
The velocity gap. Okay, break that down for us.
So this is the growing structural tension between how fast traditional education adapts versus how fast the actual global market changes. Think about how academic institutions operate.
Very slowly.
Exactly. By their very nature, they measure curriculum updates in years. It takes a massive amount of bureaucratic effort, committee approvals, textbook revisions, just to change a single university degree program.
Right. It's a huge ship to turn around.
But on the other side of that equation, artificial intelligence, automation, and the global tech sectors are redefining technical requirements in a matter of weeks.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because that velocity gap changes the entire proposition of a university education.
It changes everything.
If the market requires an entirely new workflow every few weeks, but your degree is from, say, 5 years ago, that very expensive piece of paper goes from being a lifelong passport to success to basically acting as a receipt.
A receipt. I like that.
Yeah, it's just a receipt for historical attendance. It proves you are disciplined enough to write essays and show up to a lecture hall back in 2018.
Right.
But it says absolutely nothing about your current deployable capabilities in today's market.
That is a perfect way to frame it. And that dynamic leads to what the sources identify as the shrinking half-life of a learned skill.
The half-life of a skill.
Yeah. If a specific software capability or an analytical framework you learned 2 years ago is already obsolete, you simply cannot rely on it to carry you through a 40-year career.
No, of course not. You'd be left behind in months.
Exactly. And this is exactly why the most ambitious professionals out there are actively abandoning the static corporate ladder. They aren't job hopping out of some generational disloyalty.
Right, which is the usual stereotype.
Yeah, but it's not that at all. They're doing it out of survival. They are stepping off the broken escalator because staying on it means becoming functionally obsolete in real time.
So if the ladder is rusting away, we have to look at the alternative presented in our sources. They talk about shifting to a portfolio career.
Yes, in the portfolio career.
But let's be real, corporate jargon can get pretty dense.
Hey,
The text says you need to stop treating yourself as an employee and start treating yourself as an agile enterprise.
an agile enterprise, yeah.
I mean, what does that actually look like for the listener sitting in a cubicle right now?
Well, it means fundamentally changing your relationship with your employer. Treating yourself as an agile enterprise means you operate like a one-person startup.
Okay, a startup of one.
Right. You are a dynamic entity that has to constantly analyze the market and acquire strategic, targeted skills to stay profitable.
That makes sense.
And the sources point out that in fast-moving, standalone economic ecosystems, places like the US, India, and Singapore, the market has aggressively shifted away from that pedigree-based model.
Like caring about what ivy-covered brick building you spent 4 years in.
Exactly. Nobody cares about the brick building anymore. Now we are entering a strict meritocracy of proof.
Meritocracy of proof. So it is entirely, show me what you can do right this second.
Exactly. Employers in these fast-moving economies no longer care about your baseline pedigree. The only thing that cuts through the noise of an incredibly slow-moving traditional HR hierarchy is the aggressive accumulation of micro-credentials.
Micro-credentials.
Yeah. These are granular, highly specific, industry-validated certifications that offer undeniable, objective proof of your current competence.
Let me stop you right there, though, because I really want to push back on this on behalf of anyone listening.
Sure, go for it.
Because if you have spent even 5 minutes scrolling through a professional networking site recently, you know the internet is completely flooded with digital badges.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Right. You scroll your feed, and it seems like everyone is just constantly posting generic certificates for every little hour-long webinar they attended on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yes, the webinar badges.
Are people just collecting these digital badges like useless trading cards without actually seeing any real movement in their careers?
This raises an important question, and honestly, you hit on the exact core friction identified in our source material.
Okay, so the sources talk about this.
They do. The challenge for the modern professional is no longer about access to education. I mean, you can find a cheap or free course on anything, anywhere, at any time.
Oh, absolutely. YouTube alone is a goldmine.
Right. The challenge is entirely about alignment. Randomly accumulating badges absolutely does not work.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, a scattershot approach to digital learning is exactly why people end up with a dozen certificates and 0 salary bumps. The true strategy, the one that actually forces a promotion, requires you to map incredibly granular skills against real-time industry gaps.
Which brings us to how you actually do that mapping. This is where the sources dive into the platform SkillDrift.
Yes, SkillDrift.
And they talk about it not just as a piece of software, but as a methodology for a new kind of career roadmap. The whole first phase of getting out of this rut is moving away from subjective feedback.
Which is huge.
Right, because right now, most professionals are operating in a total vacuum. You wait around for a yearly performance review, your manager gives you some vague feedback like, we'd love to see more leadership.
More leadership, whatever that means.
Exactly. And you are just left guessing what that actually translates to on a Tuesday morning.
It is a massive hurdle. You cannot build a precise skill set on vague, subjective manager feedback or, a 5-year-old HR job description.
No, you really can't.
What this methodology argues is that you must replace that subjective guesswork with objective, real-time market data. The SkillDrift platform, for example, uses an AI engine to benchmark your current talent profile against live market demands.
See, I am always a little skeptical when I hear AI engine because half the time it just means a fancy search bar.
Fair enough.
How does this AI actually benchmark you? Like, what is it mechanically doing behind the scenes?
It is actually fascinating. Mechanically, the system is constantly scraping and analyzing millions of data points across the open job market.
Millions?
Millions. It uses natural language processing to read through thousands of live job descriptions, internal mobility postings, and the public profiles of professionals who currently hold the jobs you want.
Oh, wow. So it's looking at the people who are already winning.
Exactly. It identifies the exact frequency of specific software requirements, coding languages, and analytical frameworks that are being demanded today. Then it compares that massive real-time data set against the specific skills you have uploaded in your profile.
Okay, wow. So the reality check there has to be pretty profound.
It can be a little harsh, honestly.
I bet. You can instantly see how your current proficiency in, say, product management or AI integration actually stacks up against thousands of other real people competing for the exact same high-leverage roles.
It totally strips away the office politics.
It does. And in doing so, it reveals what the sources call silent gaps.
Yes, the silent gaps.
These are the specific, highly granular technical nuances that you might not even realize you are missing, but that are silently disqualifying you in the background.
Which is terrifying if you don't know they're there.
Right. It moves the internal monologue from a vague, I guess I need to learn more about AI, to isolating the exact reason why a peer in another department was chosen for the promotion over you.
Right. You find out your peers are secretly mastering Python data modeling while you are still trying to figure out how to format a PDF report for your boss.
Yeah, there's a serious wake-up call.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Because once you see those silent gaps, you have to build a trajectory.
The roadmap.
Exactly. The sources talk about reverse engineering your journey. I have heard people compare career planning to using a GPS, but honestly, that feels a bit cliche.
A little bit, yeah.
To me, it feels much more like building a character in a complex video game.
Oh, I like that. How do you mean?
Well, in a role-playing game, you have a massive skill tree. You can't just jump to being a master wizard. You have to unlock specific, granular skills in a very particular order to eventually access that rare, high-level class.
That's a great comparison.
This methodology feels the same. You aren't just wandering the corporate map hoping to stumble into a management seminar. You type in your exact target, let's say VP of AI strategy. And the platform acts as the skill tree, showing you the precise sequence of micro-credentials you need to unlock to get from where you are sitting right now to that highly specialized endpoint.
What's fascinating here is how that completely alters the psychology of the professional.
It really does.
When you can see the skill tree, you are no longer passively sitting at your desk, quietly hoping leadership notices your late hours. You are actively executing a precise strategy.
You're in control.
Exactly. You know the exact technical requirements, and you know exactly what you need to learn this weekend to be ready for the opportunity next month.
But that brings up a massive, glaring problem.
Oh, what's that?
Okay, so I have this beautiful map of my silent gaps. I know my skill tree. How on earth do I actually execute this without completely burning out?
Ah, yes, the burnout factor.
Right, because the biggest barrier to continuous learning isn't desire, it's time. You can't just pause your adult life, drop your mortgage payments, and take a 6-month sabbatical every time the global tech sector decides to change its software standards.
No, you absolutely can't, which is why the concept of microlearning is the linchpin of this entire strategy.
Microlearning.
Because you've already mapped your precise, granular skill gaps, you do not need to waste your time with bloated, generalized courses.
Right. You don't need the filler.
Exactly. You aren't enrolling in a generic 12-week business administration class just to extract one specific technical skill buried in week 8.
That sounds exhausting just thinking about it.
It is. The curation here is highly targeted. The focus is on bite-sized micro-credentials that provide the absolute highest return on investment for the specific hours you actually have available.
And the sources use a really great phrase for this approach. Stacking for impact.
Stacking for impact, yes.
It is not just about learning a new skill in a vacuum. It is about how these specific credentials combine, almost like chemical reactions, to make you a unicorn in your specific job market.
It's the real magic of it.
They give a fantastic example in the text. Let's say your background, your core competency is in enterprise sales. You're great at relationship building, you know how to navigate a long sales cycle, and you manage big clients well.
A solid foundation.
Right. But if you take the targeted time to add a highly specific micro-credential in predictive analytics, that resulting combination completely changes your value proposition.
It fundamentally elevates you because you aren't just a salesperson trying to hit a quota anymore.
Exactly.
By stacking predictive analytics on top of your sales acumen, you become a highly specialized asset who can forecast market trends, analyze client data usage, and close deals by telling the client exactly what they're going to need next year before they even know it themselves.
Which is mind-blowing.
It really is. You become uniquely qualified and practically indispensable.
Right. And as you put in those grueling hours on nights and weekends to learn, you need psychological reinforcement.
You definitely need to see the progress.
The sources talk about visualizing this value. As you complete these targeted micro-credentials, you can actually watch your skill gap shrink objectively on a dashboard.
Which has to be so satisfying.
It is. You are watching the distance between you and that VP role get mathematically smaller every time you master a new concept.
Mm.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Please do.
This all sounds incredibly sleek and very, Silicon Valley.
Right.
Does a methodology like this actually work outside of the tech bubble?
That's a valid question.
Like, what if you are listening to this and you work in a legacy industry, like manufacturing or traditional finance or logistics?
That is a very fair skepticism to bring to this. But if we look at the data within the sources, the answer is yes, because the fundamental mechanics of the velocity gap apply everywhere.
Okay, how so?
Well, even a legacy manufacturing plant in Ohio is dealing with automated supply chain software, predictive maintenance algorithms on their machines, and advanced data tracking.
True. Tech is everywhere now.
Exactly. The person on that factory floor who stacks some micro-credential and IoT Internet of Things sensor data analysis on top of their 10 years of floor management experience suddenly becomes the most valuable person in the building.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of it like that.
The application looks different, sure, but the strategy of stacking granular, verified skills to solve modern problems is universal.
So what does this all mean when the rubber finally meets the road? Let's get incredibly practical here.
Let's do it.
Let's say you do everything we just talked about. You benchmark your skills against the AI, you find your silent gaps, you grind through the targeted micro-learning, you stack your predictive analytics on top of your enterprise sales, and you watch your skill gap shrink to absolute zero.
You've leveled up completely.
Right. You are fully leveled up. And then you take all this undeniable proof to your current manager, and they still push back.
Happens all the time.
What if you sit in their office and they say, that's great you learned this, but you just haven't been here long enough, wait your turn?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that scenario is exactly where the true power of the portfolio career becomes evident.
Because you aren't trapped anymore.
Exactly. The absolute beauty of verified, industry-validated micro-credentials is that they are completely decoupled from your current employer's internal politics.
That is so freeing.
If your stubborn manager refuses to recognize your newly stacked skills, it doesn't matter, because the global market absolutely will. Systems like the SkillDrift platform and the broader micro-credential ecosystem they represent function as massive talent mobility engines.
Because they are tied to predictive job matching, right? Can you explain how that mechanism actually provides an exit strategy?
Certainly. Because the system has objectively verified your new competencies, it doesn't just give you a digital pat on the back. It actively takes that newly verified skill stack and matches it against its live database of open roles.
Wow. So it's actively looking for your next move.
Yeah, it can flag internal mobility opportunities in other departments of your company that your manager might be hiding from you, or it can match you with entirely external roles at different companies who are desperate for your exact combination of skills.
It fundamentally flips the power dynamic of the negotiation.
It turns it upside down.
You are no longer walking into an office saying, hey, I've been sitting at my desk for 5 years. I think I deserve a promotion based on loyalty.
Which is a very weak position to be in.
It really is. Instead, you are entering a negotiation with objective, market-validated proof of your capabilities, backed by data showing exactly what those capabilities are worth in the open market.
Exactly.
You are leveraging verified mastery to either demand the role you want internally, or you simply take your agile enterprise elsewhere.
Precisely. To summarize the ultimate takeaway from these sources, the modern professional must stop being a passenger.
Stop riding the broken escalator.
Yes. You can no longer afford to be entirely dependent on arbitrary corporate timelines or the subjective whims of a single manager. The portfolio career is not just some trendy HR buzzword. It is the harsh, demanding new reality of how value is exchanged in a fast-paced economy. Proof of competence verified, immediate, granular competence is the only currency that will protect you moving forward.
It is a massive mindset shift. You really have to take ownership of your own trajectory.
You do. And as we consider the implications of this new reality, I think it leaves us with a rather profound question about the future of how we organize human labor entirely.
Oh, where are we heading?
Well, if artificial intelligence and global tech are genuinely shifting capability requirements in a matter of weeks, and if the only currency that truly matters now is the verified proof of micro skills, How long until the very concept of a static job title disappears entirely?
Wait, really? No job titles at all?
I mean, think about it. We might be rapidly approaching a horizon where fixed, rigid roles are completely abolished, replaced by dynamic, fluid teams that are formed spontaneously on the fly.
That sounds crazy, but also entirely possible.
Right. Teams formed based purely on the real-time stacked capabilities of individuals acting as their own agile enterprises.
Wow. Imagine an entire corporate structure without titles. No director of marketing or senior analyst. Just a fluid pool of talent, pulling people into projects based purely on the specific micro-credentials they hold that week, and then dissolving the team when the project is done.
It's a totally different world.
It is a wild, almost chaotic thought. But based on the velocity gap we explore today, it feels entirely plausible. It is incredibly empowering, but it also means the days of hiding in a comfortable job title are over.
Definitely over.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. The choice is really yours. You can keep standing there on those stationary metal stairs waiting for the machine to magically start moving again, or you can start walking up. Take control, map your skills, and build your own path upward.